Okay, here we are in my 14 Civic Si, and I figured it was time I give you guys another update video and just kind of let you know what's going on with some things with the car. So quite a bit has happened since I showed it last, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to mention is I now have 33,354 miles on this car, so I have been driving it a lot recently, and last weekend alone I put about 500 miles on it, and this weekend I did a couple hundred, and I also did a couple hundred this week, so it's just been adding up like crazy, which is pretty cool actually. So I didn't quite make my goal of getting 30,000 in a year of ownership, but I'm definitely making up for that this month with all the driving that I've been doing. I also replaced the tires on it at about 28,000 miles. I bought a set of Continental Extreme Contact DWS tires, and I was kind of originally wanting these tires, but they were a little more expensive than I originally wanted to spend. And so I did some shopping around, and I was able to purchase them at the dealership that I work at, and I got a great deal on them because they originally retailed for $179, and then we honor price matches elsewhere, so I price matched Walmart, got them for $145 a piece, and then I'm getting a $100 mail-in rebate, and on top of that I get free tire rotations at that dealership for as long as I own these tires. So I thought that was a great deal, and I really couldn't pass that up. So that's why I got these tires specifically, and that's why I got them when I did. I also had the transmission fluid changed, and it shifts a lot better now. I was kind of skeptical because 30,000 miles isn't really a whole lot, and it's a manual, so it's not as crucial as it is with an automatic. But it just shifts so much smoother now. It doesn't make that clunking sound going into third anymore, and when you downshift, it just slides right into gear. It is great. So also the changes into fifth and sixth are smoother now. It's not quite as hard when you go into sixth gear, so that's great. So I'll definitely keep doing that every 20 or 30,000 miles. It just takes 2 quarts of transmission fluid, and now that I've seen how it's done, I know how to do it myself, so I can save a little bit of money there next time. Basically, the fill plug is really hard to get to, so what they did is they took like a massive syringe and sucked the fluid out of the bottle and then just dispensed it into the transmission. So next time, if I want to do it myself, I can do that for about $30. And I bought 3 quarts of fluid just in case I needed an extra, so I've got one now for next time that I do it. Also, I just changed the oil a couple weekends ago, and so I've been doing that every 5,000 to 7,000 miles roughly. I use the maintenance minder as a very vague indication of when I need to change it. I keep an eye on it every couple weeks just to see where the level's at and see what kind of condition it's in. So I use that kind of more of a gauge than I do the actual maintenance indicator on the car. Because if I left it up to that, I could go easily 10,000 miles, and I'm just not really all that comfortable doing that with this car, especially with as long as I intend to keep it. And so I always use an OEM Honda filter, and I use Mobil 1 Advanced Fuel Economy 0W20. So both of those together cost a little over $30, and it's just runs great on this oil. So I also put in a K&N air filter, and I also changed the cabin air filter with a Fram filter. So it's sounds a little bit better now, and I do notice that the air coming out of the vents is just a little bit more free-flowing, I guess, so without the filter all clogged up and whatnot. When I got the tires, I put sidewall letters on them with a Sharpie paint pen, and so I was really liking the look of it, and I noticed very early on that it needs to be touched up very frequently, or else the letters get gray, kind of a brownish gray color, and they start to wear off. And so I'm just gonna wash them off completely. You can wash them off, but it takes some time, so I'm just gonna kind of scrub at it each time I wash the car, and within a month or two it should be worn off completely. So I just don't have the time or the patience really to keep touching it up every week. But when they're fresh and white and vibrant, they look really good, but I'm just not really interested in the upkeep on that. So I'm just gonna get rid of the white letters completely and go back to the regular look of the sidewall. Also on the outside of the car, I plasti dipped the front emblems black, and I plasti dipped a couple of the rear emblems black, and then the red the H emblem on the back I dipped red. So I was originally intending to dip all the H emblems red, and I did it on one of the wheels, and it was just a huge pain in the butt. And I did it on the front, and it made the car look like a clown with like a big bright red nose. It was really tacky looking, and I just didn't like the design of it with that red emblem. So I peeled that off, and I went over it with black, and I did the SI emblem black on the front too. And in pictures it looks kind of stupid really, with all the black up there in the front, but in person it actually looks really good because you have the gloss black finish on the grille, and then the plasti dip itself is kind of a matte or semi-gloss look, and it's not quite as deep of a black as the painted grille. So there is some contrast there when you look at it actually in front of you, and so I really like the look of it. Also on the interior, I added piping on the doors and around the dome lights. So it's really cheap. It's like $1.25 a yard, and I got some extra from a friend who has a 2012 Dodge Charger RT. He did the piping on his doors and on his dashboard, and so I used some of his extra. It's like a dark red look, and it just adds kind of a nice little touch to the doors on this car, and I really like the look of it. So I'm also going to do it around the bottom of the shift boot and around the bottom of the parking brake. I got like 2 or 3 feet of this stuff left, so I think that's where I'm going to put it. And also talking about the shifter, I have always hated this shift knob ever since I got this car. Actually, before I even got this car, I knew that I didn't like this shift knob. It's small, it's really rounded, so it's kind of hard to grip onto, and the top of it is metal, and so when you put your hand on the top of it in the summertime, it just burns the crap out of your hand. So you have to kind of gently finagle your hand around the side where there's that kind of short band of leather, and it's just kind of hard and cumbersome to grip onto when the knob is hot. So I finally found a shift knob that I like, and I hope that it works. The threading and everything is just fine. It'll just screw right on there, but what I'm more concerned about is the shift boot, because the shift boot has these little clips on it, and they clip onto the bottom of either the shift knob or somewhere on the actual shifter. So I have yet to figure out exactly how that clips on there, but the knob I want is the knob that came in the 2007 to 2008 Acura Acura TL, and so it's all leather. It has a little round piece of metal on the top with a shift pattern on it, but all down the sides and everything, it's leather, and it's not rounded like this one is. It's nice and tall, and it seems to be a little bit thicker, so I think that'll be a nice feel in this car. So my main concern with that is just how the shift boot is going to clip onto there. But worst case scenario is the knob has these 2 plastic clips on it, and if that doesn't fit into the slots on the shift boot, worst case scenario, I'll just super glue it onto the clips there. So that's going to be the worst case scenario. So I think it'll work pretty well, and I think that'll really just make this car a little bit more comfortable to drive.